Okay, good.
We've all learned.
Yes.
We've all learned. We all know. All right. Good evening. Quick update on the license plate project. We actually put a pause because as I readied the project to launch, paperwork's all ready to go. We hit some foundational framework obstacles. And the success of the license plate project is highly dependent upon the success and the public image of the foundation. And it was becoming pretty clear that the foundation itself isn't fully fleshed out, especially to the public, with an overarching mission statement. All links lead to the port website. So it just was starting to look a little bit confusing specifically to the public. And the public is who we need to be on board as we launch this license plate project. So it is recommended by me that we put a pause in the license plate project. It's ready to go, but we pause and we launch it when the foundation itself is more ready for the public introduction, which includes a board that perhaps is not made up of the commission, which includes a solid mission statement for every branch and umbrella, a separate website, separate contact information. So when people are emailing about the foundation, they're not emailing the port staff specifically. It's not a Port of Hood River email. We also are still waiting for our IRS determination letter, which should be coming in the next couple months.
Hope so.
You know, it's the IRS, you just kind of hold your breath and wait. But until we have the determination letter, we can't, people can't give to the foundation and expect it to be a tax write-off. So we would like to have that in place because if you're launching to the public, you want to be able to accept donations for people that feel passionate about the project. So I mocked up kind of a 6-month timeline for the foundation for your consideration to set the foundation up for the success of the license plate project, so that the license plate project would be ready to launch spring of 2026 with clarity for the public and the community about what the foundation is they're doing. So that is my recommendation.
And then as far as your recommendation to change or not change, but have a individual board, which I agree with, for the foundation, is that something that you just need direction on how to select that initial board or the guidelines of it?
So the scope of my project scope was the license plate project. And the success of that project is very much dependent upon the success of the foundation and how it's framed. So if the foundation would like me to work on that, I just need to be directed as so. But right now, for this license plate project to be successful, the foundation needs to set itself up for success.
I question whether the whole license plate program is as dependent on all those things being in place. As I know the foundation as a whole for like our local community, for projects on the waterfront, that it has to be very like well defined, and all the things you're saying I totally agree with. I'm just questioning whether a statewide license plate is really if it's a legal foundation, why we couldn't keep the ball rolling on that moving forward, since it is quite a lengthy process to get it going anyway. Can we just keep the ball rolling while we're getting all our ducks in a row?
I think that that's up to the foundation. I think for me personally, the separation of port and the foundation is a little murky right now. When in all of the forms that we're going to send out for artists, when we're talking on radio, press releases, all of those big marketing things that we need to do is going to direct everybody right to the Port of Hood River website. So it doesn't necessarily look like a clean cut foundation separation. It looks like the port. Does that make sense? So locally, I think it's very important to be clear. Statewide, maybe not as much, but we're marketing it to the state, and all roads need to lead to the foundation, not to the port, in my opinion.
is there a possibility to continue with some of the paperwork admin stuff to, but knowing that we need to have the separation of that, like, you know, like the school board foundation, new parks fund, like all
Right.
these other foundations. I agree that we definitely need the separation and that it's helpful for the public. Yeah, I agree that it's such a long process. It would be nice to continue to kind of background work on the administrative side. But I also understand that there is monetary commitments at certain points and we don't wanna put the cart before the
The
horse.
question that comes to my mind is that if it's likely that the new board for this would be different than us, then shouldn't that board have
The same.
a say in whether they go forward with a license plate program or not? And I happen to agree with you 100%. It feels like it's one of the same. You know, I can see people seeing this thing as a board program where in fact it's supposed to be somewhat removed from it. And to the benefit of projects and so on for the community. It just doesn't quite feel right to me.
So would some good direction be to put a pause on for now and allow the new board to make all of those decisions? And, but what we would need to decide is how is that new board going to be
Well, I think
selected?
you need fundamental is who's gonna design the new board?
Yeah.
And when is it gonna get done and who's gonna review and approve it? I don't know what the answer is to those three questions.
Well, you're the board right now,
Right.
so it'll be you acting as the foundation board to make that change.
Yeah, so if Gretchen came to us and said, this is the way, well, this is one way that we could decide to do it. Gretchen could decide, this is the way that the board should be made up, but let's open it up for people who wanna be on the first board, kind of like with the Bridge Authority. We can either say, well, we're gonna have people appointed, seems more logical to say, if you're interested, apply. Maybe as the first board, we then take those applications and we choose the first board. And then the new rules and regulations get put into place with that board, but that's the,
So,
I agree with you that
So-
we just need to figure out how to.
so maybe what you think about doing is do a workshop with us and staff that says, what are the decisions that have to be made to get this thing into place? And then the workshop doesn't leave the room until we've got a position on each of these particular questions, and then we can get a direction to go forward.
Is there a way, I think I asked this before, Gretchen, but I can't remember. If you have the answer, can the Port of Hood River Foundation be like the parent foundation with maybe a more specific name for the waterfront and more specific name for the airport branch? Because I feel like the Port of Hood River Foundation is not the best name. If we're not wanting it to point straight to the port.
If I can address that, make a few comments. First of all, Gretchen, thank you for the work. I mean, you've thought about stuff a lot. So I've got a couple of clarifying remarks, which I think will help contextualize this. One, the genesis of the foundation was basically people coming to me saying, we want to donate money at the airport for this project. We don't want to give money to the port because
We don't trust them.
we don't trust the port. There is a long history of
History of
black box finances and
Yeah.
issues. So when we went about the work initially of let's set up the 501c3, it was set up to be very, very broad with the thought that it would be, of course, like all 501c3s, exclusive for charitable purposes, but it could be something that could lessen the burdens of the port in a variety of different ways. If somebody had a pet project and they wanted to earmark money for a little mini park somewhere on some property that the port owns, the 501c3 could be a way that people could be involved, a way for community involvement. So that idea of keeping it general and not too specific I think that's valuable. And so the idea of like breaking it up into a very bureaucratic system of hierarchies, I don't love that. It makes things complicated, more complicated than they need to be when for a lot of what this foundation exists for is just oversight of donated money. I am completely in favor of having other people be the board members because the idea is that it's a community engagement and there's community oversight. So I love the idea that maybe we appoint one commissioner to be on the board to have that link with the port, but then we get for however many other people. And to me, I think, I mean, I'll suggest this, see what you guys think. I think it's as simple as just putting out a notice and saying, hey, we'd like to get community members on this, apply, and then just pick 4 other people and then go with it. We're the current board of the foundation, so it seems like as the current board of the foundation, we could choose those people and then hand it over to them. And then with respect to the license plate project, because that has a lot more stages of community involvement and setting things up, then that's where I think it would be appropriate for that board to make some of the decisions that you're suggesting. Like, what's our time, what's our roadmap?
Right.
So I don't, in principle, see anything wrong with us like getting on this and like let's get some applications. Let's get a fresh board. Because your points are good ones. About having it be more of a community facing thing in a way for people to engage. I don't know. I mean, the mission statement as it is just very general. It's something like the foundation will assist the port in charitable activities. I don't know that we need to have lots of branches or divisions and committees and all these different things, but maybe a different board of people feels like that would be helpful, and that's fine. On the airport side, what we're trying to do there with our long-term thinking about an operations center that would have tie-ins to industry and economic development and resilience in the case of emergencies and things like that. The value of the foundation is to just have a vehicle for people to donate money. There doesn't need to be a committee that oversees that really specifically, because there aren't a lot of strategy or decisions that need to be made. It's a tool for donating money. But I can see how with waterfront initiatives it's different. And I respect that. So I would like to propose that we go ahead and just open up a request for members and put it out there and get applications. Hopefully there's a lot of interest.
So if I could add to that, I think that's great.
Yeah, I mean,
Should we open it up to the other side of the river?
can we? I mean,
They're not our constituents though.
that's
It's a nonprofit.
that's true. Yeah, it's a little different. You're right.
I mean, I don't see why we would wanna, but I don't understand why someone want to, because the only thing we can really do anything with is port owned facilities and assets, which are
understand.
all on this side of the river.
One of the big complaints that we keep hearing in the local community on the other side of the bridge, you never let us be involved or.
Well, I say,
Here could be an opportunity that you could fix that.
well, couldn't we just open it up and see what we get? And then if we get some applications that seem to be good, we can choose them. But I do like the idea of making sure that a port commissioner always sits on the
Just
board
one.
of the foundation.
Yeah, just one.
I like that too.
Much like we do committee assignments.
Mhm.
I think that's great. It
Perfect.
maintains good communication.
Cause just like the Community Ed Foundation, I mean, theirs is just a Community Ed Foundation, and as projects roll up and present themselves, they say, we're gonna. Now the money goes here, and now the money goes here, and you can earmark money for this project or this project, but the overreach thing is, this is a.
I
This
think
is a
you've got an
donation.
opportunity
Yeah.
here to maybe mend some fences. And who cares where the money's coming from as long as the money comes,
Right.
right?
Oh, and, just one point of clarification. People absolutely can donate to a not-for-profit organization that has not yet received its determination letter, and that money certainly is tax deductible. There is a caveat.
Exactly.
If the determination is not awarded, then the organization would have to give it back.
Right.
But people can make the donation, but you're right, there's more confidence
Yes,
with the determination letter.
public confidence is something that is desired
It's
in this
important.
situation.
So does that seem reasonable to you that we like get going on that, get going on the reconfiguration, and then whatever new group that would be the group that would you kind of hash out
The rest of it.
the rest of it?
Just if I could,
Yeah.
so, we've got the airport, we've got the waterfront. Do you see this board being a 5-member board, or what should the makeup of the board be, considering those two kind of, aside from the loss of tolls, that's the only thing that kind of brings these two things together.
Yeah, but the idea is that this foundation could be used for other things as well. I mean,
That's true.
Yeah. So I don't.
I'm thinking for Gretchen's sake, you're thinking five
Yeah.
plus one, or 4 plus 1.
4+1.
Yeah, I think that's great. It's a workable size.
Mhm.
I've been on boards before with 8 and 9 and 13, and I think 5 is better. There's a reason, like most special districts are 5 people.
And just to intercede here, the bylaws do say 3 to 7, so you would have
Right.
to change which you can change the bylaws.
Yeah,
but it
you
does
could
say
go up
3
to 7. And who knows, maybe you get 5 amazing people that want to be involved, and like, okay, we'll do it. So,
I agree.
so.
Does that give you the direction that you need?
I have a question.
Yes.
So when we finalized the mission statement, it was very specific to the
To the
waterfront.
waterfront.
And that went into our application process, correct? Because didn't we have to have a mission statement?
For
We
the
have not
for the
applied
license
for the DMV because when you submit your application, you also are submitting artwork.
Okay, oh, okay, so it's not.
Yeah.
Okay,
That hasn't been
okay, so it's not too late to change the mission statement to be a little more broad,
Correct.
but we want it to be. Okay.
Yeah, because that was the trick is we had a specific, very specific mission statement for the waterfront kind of side of things, but the overarching mission statement of the foundation was still very broad. There wasn't really, it says airport side, but there wasn't any information. It didn't feel as clear as it needs to be when we launch a big project to the public.
Okay.
Anything else?
So, Madam President, how do we go about, moving? I mean, can we just decide by consensus that we're gonna go ahead and put out a request for board
I
members?
just have one more
Yeah.
thing to say.
Yeah.
So when we did, when Gretchen and I did have a stakeholder group here,
Mhm.
I feel like we might have to do another stakeholder meeting to really get public input on this, because we were really focused on the waterfront, thinking
Yes.
that the Port Hood River Foundation, I feel like the genesis of it was Gretchen coming to us with this great idea about a license plate program. And we said, oh, well, we need a 501c3 for that. And, we just were really focused on the waterfront. Stakeholder group was so excited about the foundation and what we could do to improve everything on the waterfront.
Mhm.
And if we're switching it, maybe we need to have another public input meeting.
So I don't think that we're switching it. I would say that
We're broadening.
the active focus of an active committee, which we are gonna need for the waterfront, is one.
So
piece.
are we still gonna keep it a little bit divisive then with the waterfront being separate?
No, I would say that we don't have to do that, but the thing is that the rest of them, if someone wanted to donate, let's say for the airport, there's not really an active project or
There's nothing the board
participation.
members need to do. I mean.
We just have to take the money and
They have-
earmark it for their own.
But they have to, doesn't the foundation's board have to choose what projects the money goes
Not
to?
if it's
No.
earmarked.
Not if it's
They
designated.
have to follow
There
whatever.
has to be a project to earmark money.
There doesn't have to be, it's whatever restriction a donor gives. A donor could offer and say, hey, I'd like to donate $1 for a, you know, take a shoe, leave a shoe box or something on the waterfront. Would you want my dollar? And you're like, well, no, or yes. And if yes, then you have to put it towards that project. It doesn't matter what it is. They could say anything.
Right, but then you have to have the project. So who makes the decision? If somebody says,
The port
I
makes
want
the
it-
decision on the project,
Yeah.
and then the port can say, here's this project that we're going to be doing, like, for example, the airport. We say, we're gonna be doing this
so is
project.
the airport advisory committee going to these?
And then if people say, hey, I wanna donate to this project and I want the money to be earmarked for this particular project, then they give us the money and we just earmark it for that thing.
Okay.
Or we can say, I just wanna, you know, someone says, I just wanna donate money and I want it to go to the general fund of the foundation, and you guys can choose to use it how you want. That's what the board decision's for.
Yep.
Mhm. Okay,
And we focused on the waterfront mission because the license plate project was focused on the waterfront.
right.
So I think what you're saying, both things are true.
Yeah, but also we don't want to just sit around and wait for people to offer money. We're trying to be more proactive.
Correct.
Yeah, so to me, it's a combination of both boards.
Yeah,
We ought to be thinking strategically, here are the projects that we would like to see going forward. That list of projects ought to go to the second board that says, hey, if you want a list of projects that are kind of being thought about, here's a list.
yeah,
Communicate that
That's-
out and see
that's
if
where
it
the
excites
ambiguity-
anybody.
ambiguity.
Or they may come back and say,
Confusion is
you
with
haven't
me.
thought about this one. How about this one?
Yeah, so how are we gonna say like, oh, we really wanna have this project done, but we can't do it without your donations. Not just waiting for people to come in and say, oh, I have $1 for.
Well, it's kind of like just what Jessica did, where she presented and she said, this is our list of priorities. And so
Yeah.
as the port, we would start saying, here's a list of priority of projects.
Okay,
And we would give that to the foundation, and then the foundation could say, you know, we were gonna accept donations for these specific projects if you want, or you can put it in the general fund of the foundation. Is that?
yeah, I mean, I had a really clear view of what I wanted to see at the waterfront.
Yes. Still,
Well, that still lives too.
yeah, still for sure.
And I think Tor's vision for the
The give a shoe, find a shoe.
Yeah.
I was thinking more the terminal building, but it could be what else.
For sure.
Shoes are also, yes. Okay.
Shoes matter.
Does that help to clarify? I don't think, we're not pausing or reprioritizing anything lower. It's just pausing to get ducks in a row.
Okay, but we're not pausing, we're moving forward with more organization.
Correct.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
We're not backtracking.
More clarity.
yeah,
Right.
So
and I
does that
think-
give you the direction that you need?
Yeah, I think having more community voice involved and people saying, some different perspectives is great.
And along those lines, you did have that recent stakeholder meeting, and as well as publicly saying we're accepting applications, if you would like to be on the board. If we could make sure that a direct thing goes to the airport advisory committee, to the marine waterfront advisory committee, and anyone that was in attendance at any of those meetings, just have all their notice. Good?
Yep.
Is that all from you?
That's all for me.
Well, you should adopt the minutes from the last meeting too.
Oh, yes. Can I get,
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
thank you. All in
Aye.
favor?
I,
Aye. All right, and that's the final.
You just have the airport foundation or.
Yeah,
or did we
you-
cover that?
The Airport Foundation initiatives update, thank you, Debbie. Just, I didn't know, because there's been some activity. I mean, there was a big part of it.
Exciting.
Yes.
Yeah, so at this point, I'm starting to really finalize fundraising effort, community fundraising efforts for terminal facility at the airport. And now that we kind of are at this stage, two things are going to be happening. On the staff side, we're going to be looking at obviously at the grant writing for an economic development administration grant. to fund this, and then I'm going to be approaching individuals and fundraising. So, because there are a lot of people in the community that have been waiting for a North Ramp terminal building at the airport for 50+ years, and they would like very much to see it happen. We have a lovely statue that Friends of the Airport made or paid for, like a bronze statue at Wham of Ken Jernstead that was supposed to be in the building that never got built. And Wham is holding that in trust until we have a building. So at this stage, we'll be talking with people there about, hey, we're on the path. So that's exciting. That's all I've got.
Yeah, I'm super excited for those possibilities. It's very exciting. Is there anything else?